spiritual journey of building a committee to embark on a Sister Parish relationship with Little Flower. Through that time, we got to meet a lot of great people, do Zoom meetings. It's amazing what technology can do now. But in June of 2022, Alma Valesco, Patty Evans, and I, along with Father Michael, took an opportunity to visit our newly instituted Sister Parish with the hope of forging strong bonds and understanding the needs of the Little Flower community. We did not know at that time how this trip would truly change us, but the Holy Spirit really stirred within our hearts while we were there. We were blessed to meet a lot of the locals, particularly one lady named Patty Devereaux. She was a devoted disciple of God who scheduled a week for us, a full week of faith, hope, and charity, along with many others from the Little Flower community who enriched our time there. I would just like to share a very quick but powerful story. While we were there, we were introduced to a native Blackfoot woman named Mary, who is a professor at the Blackfeet Community College that's on the reservation there. She shared with us a moment she had with her grandfather, in which she asked why her family roots had converted to Christianity. The grandfather shared with her that their people always spoke of a God from the East who would come to save the world, and also telling them a time when the earth shook and reverberated throughout their land. They came to realize that this event was Christ's crucifixion. These recounts that she had and that they told of the stories that aligned so well with Christianity made it very easy for the Blackfeet Indians to convert to the one true God. And this moving story tells us just how we truly all are one body in Christ. But perhaps one of the greatest blessings from the trip, and the reason that we are all here tonight, was getting to know Father Rob. He's a man who is truly committed fully to the call from God to become a priest, and he's a personified true disciple. We were able to witness firsthand how his wit, underlined wit, passion, and charisma resonated with the community that he serves. With the energy of a 20-something-year-old, he actively engaged in grassroots outreach, building both spiritual and emotional bridges for God's people to come home. He is one of the most perfect earthly examples of a shepherd who cares deeply for his flock. So it is my pleasure to introduce to you our guest of honor and a man who is truly moving mountains, Father Rob.
Well, I hope we're recording that. My voice goes a long ways. It was worth it. So, talking about Mary King. So Mary King is a teacher at the Blackfeet Community College. I hadn't heard that story before. And she was the one we took away when Father Michael was there and the three women were there. We took them to all the 6 churches. And the first church we really took them to, I mean, they saw Little Flower, but we took them to East Glacier Church in East Glacier, which is 13 miles essentially west, a little southwest of Brownie, which is where Little Flower Parish is. And that church is called the Chapel of the Ascension. So when we brought them to the churches, we had someone there to talk to them about the Blackfeet people and maybe something about that particular area. Well, just a note on Mary King. She's at Mass. So like during the bad weather, we'll only get 6 people there. In the summer, we'll have like 40 because we have lots of visitors. But just something about Mary King on top of what Danielle just said is, she was talking to me a few weeks ago. I was talking on the 10 Commandments. You know, remember Christ said he didn't come to abolish it, but to live it. And to live it to the letter. And now to the letter, the most minute part of the letter. So I was talking to them a little bit about virtue. So she came up and she said, wow, this is perfect timing. Here she is in a public school. She goes, when I was teaching my kids about college kids, Native American kids, about virtues, I typed out 4 virtues, how to practice it, and what it defeats in your life, and they all loved it. Isn't that amazing? You know, here's this woman teaching it in a public school, and she's teaching these kids, you know, something that you probably won't be allowed in other public schools. So I wasn't expecting to talk about that. That's a great thing to know. It does tie into something I think I'll touch upon. I'm not price on those. Sometimes I'm a little sarcastic, and especially when I'm real hungry, which is all the time. So I have a metabolism of a 16-year-old. I know I don't look like it, but that's the way it is. So just briefly, I've been here since Tina Tucker picked me up at the airport in Knoxville. We got in about 12:30 Saturday morning, and when I was looking around, I couldn't see the buildings really well, but I was just so impressed, and it just felt like a place of prayer. It almost seemed like a kind of a monastery, up in the hill, the trees and everything. And when I went out the next day, I was like, this is like even architecture, And so I think that's a special part, because we're here to be people of prayer, I think first and foremost, we could say. And then just getting to know people and to observe things. I don't know if I've ever been so impressed by, and I'm not just saying this, by a parish community. I'm still looking for the one person that's, I might not like, but what I'm getting at is, it's just really impressive to see all the moving parts here, and the dedication, the joyful dedication, on so many different levels. So God bless you, is more I could say, but it's really something to experience and behold. And certainly it starts from on top. So you've got two wonderful priests, as you know that. You've got two wonderful priests. And I know you pray for them every day a lot, you should. So, and it's a blessing for them, too, to have people like you, because as you know, being a priest isn't always easy, And then you have 4 deacons. What a great blessing that is, and a great example for people. I think I mentioned my brother Tim is supposed to become a deacon next June, this coming June, so we pray for that. Preach on hope. I said, that's what I'm going to preach on. I didn't have to use that word before, but I just used that again. I said, I'm going to preach on hope. Then I went back to my homily, which was about that. But my point is, I really think that's the virtue really throughout the whole world. Because so many people are dedicating their lives to things that are not eternal, that are temporal. And everything temporal ourselves, are going to fail. It's just the way it is. So, and then when those things really start to fail, and you don't have a deep relationship with God, or any relationship with God, well, why live, right? So when he said that, and I really believe that too on the Blackfeet Reservation, that virtue of hope is so important. So I try to be kind of an instrument for that, in whatever way I can, and to let them know that they're loved and they're lovable, and they have an infinite value before God. It doesn't matter if they're high every day or drunk or whatever, So, but that's what he was echoing. Here's a man who's struggling with alcohol, and he says, we need the virtue of hope. We need to hear something that's hopeful. And you're helping with that. You are from a distance. And maybe when you come there, I know Bob's going to get on the bus and get there. Help us with the woodwork project. But I wanted to say a couple things, and then sometimes I'll talk too long. I apologize for that. I don't mean to. So in the beginning, a lot what I would do on Friday nights there, other nights too, I would meditate in the church, and you'll see it if you haven't seen it. I think the crucifix in the Little Flower Parish, and it's really powerful. So one night when I was there reflecting, I started to think about Simon of Cyrene. Remember, he was called to help Jesus carry the cross. And so here he is helping, the God-man. And that's kind of how I see my responsibilities to help these people when you get to know them. I'm like, wow, the crosses they carry, the way they carry them. So I kind of try to identify with him, that as a priest, really, all of us, really, we're there to help other people carry their crosses. And like Christ said, what you do to the least of my brothers, you do unto me. So there's people to pray for, on a deep level. And the things that came to my mind, especially the first 7 months there, 3 things. One was patience, trust, and what you see in a very limited way. Very limited way. Parish in Browning. We have 3, well, I guess we'll see that in a minute. So, did you do that, Danielle? Yeah, this is great. I want to put this on our website. Seriously, we got people call us. Aren't we going to tell them how to get to these other churches? So there's Browning, and where's Browning? Oh, there it is, there. A. Okay. So then we go to East Glacier, remember? So East Glacier, we have a mass every Sunday there, or every Saturday at 4 o'clock. Then at 6:30 in Browning, and then Monday or Sunday morning we have a 9 o'clock and a 10:30 mass that I have in Browning. So East Glacier, no bathroom. It's true for like all the others except for one church. And we don't have any water, and the bishop's upset about that, so we're trying to work on that. We do have a bathroom, but there's no water that goes to it. It was built in 1982, and it's really beautiful, and you get a really beautiful view of the mountains from it. And so that's one of the missions. Then this is another one. This is called the town of Bath, which is way north near Canada. It's about 50 miles from, I think it's about 50 miles from Browning. So you see St. Mary's there, and you just go up a little ways. And the name of the church is called St. Mary's. So we have a bunch of wind damage on the outside. You can see a little bit there, but there's more now. So we got to get that prepared. Then the other mission church is in Star School. So Star School is about 7 miles, kind of north, let's say, from Browning. And that's called the Sacred Heart Church. So right now, the bishop is, our priest, like on so many other places, spread so thin that we need to start kind of closing down, not permanently, but some of the churches, and that's one of them. And that's a wood stove that even the deacon is one who would go there, and in the middle of the community service, you have to go and put more wood on there, because there's no bathroom there either. But you can see the front entrance. I'll talk about that a little bit, I think. That's something new. And then we have, so the other parish is St. Anne's, and that's in Bath, which is about, so you see Heartbeat down there, F, the bottom one? That's where St. Anne's starts, in Heartbeat. So that's about 40 miles, or excuse me, 30 miles south of Browning. So there's that road there, 89, the road goes around, there's another road here that goes. And like a lot of that whole area, it's just really, really windy. And you could travel, I don't know, 10 miles one way, and the weather can be completely different. So a lot of times I have to call East Glacier before I go out there. Just one example, mentioned ground blizzards. So that's where the snow is on the ground, it's not coming down. But yeah, like last year we had multiple times, probably at least 5 times where the wind was 100 miles an hour. And so one time I had coming back from East Glacier there from Mass to get back to Browning to 6:30 Mass. There's like a 2-mile stretch. And some people say it's the worst day going in Montana. It's true. But I couldn't see because of the snow that was being blown that was on the ground because of the wind. And it must have been my guardian angel. I'm driving it, and I said, I think I'm too far over to the left. So I moved a little to the right. Just guessing where I'm at. And sure enough, the vehicle came within the next minute. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun sometimes. And then this is a beautiful mission church. So that's a Holy Family Mission. The Jesuits were there. They had a boarding school. There were Ursuline nuns that were there too. So that was built in 1938. And then the Jesuits left in 1940. So Brother Dale, who's with the Davis South Brothers, they run our school, which is right next to Little Flower Parish. He and some of the other brothers live there. But he does a communion service at that church on Sundays at 9 o'clock, and then if you can get out to Heartbeat with the weather's not too bad, he goes out there and does a communion service. So I do a lot of funerals out there in Heartbeat. And that's I guess I didn't talk about that. That's St. Anne's in Heartbeat. That's the other parish. And did you guys get that picture? So you see the snow, that's in June. Remember when we went to Bath, It was remember kind of like blizzard, and it was parallel to the road. So that church was built, I think, in the 70s, maybe the 80s, I'm not sure. So these places, like I'm the only priest there. They used to always have a priest here, like Father Malman was there for 44 years. The priest that came in after him, Father Dan Powers, was still alive. He had a stroke and then he's got dementia. Lives in California. He's a Jesuit priest. He was there like 38 years. And so then they would take care of those two churches. And then we always had two at Browning, and in the summer they'd have three because they'd have 16 masses back then until the women of the priest numbers, because they'd have so many masses up in East Glacier in different parts of the park. So anyway, right now the priest there, we've got a deacon who's going to be 75 in June. He's a really great man. So the missionaries of charity, the last 2 summers, we've had 4 of them there for the first summer, 2 summers ago, which will be 3 soon. They were there for 4 weeks, and then we were able to get them for 6 weeks the next summer, which was great. So there's that statue of St. Kateri. Remember I was talking about the young man? That's right next to our church. So right behind us where I live. And Father Michael's, there was one over, he's in the one next to that. Remember I talked about the 3 flowers and that young woman who was in federal prison? She asked me, she was so kind. She said, I'm really surprised when I found out that the night incident that she was struck with fire. So there is the crucifix. Remember I was talking about that? So that's adoration. We have adoration. So this is the Little Flower Parish in Browning. And so there's a really strong devotion to Our Lady of Guadalupe, and also to Divine Mercy Chaplain. So Thursdays we have adoration and confession from 7 to 9 at night. And then at 8 o'clock we have a beautiful sung version on a disc, Divine Mercy Chaplain. So a lot of people come like 10 or 15 minutes before 8 for that. And that lasts 20 minutes. So someone took that photo. But that sculpture was, I think it's cool, was by a local artist who's Protestant, and he had his brother hanging there. No, he didn't. So, it was very powerful. So this church, so see those rocks, those are from like riverbeds. And one of my first funerals was for a woman who lived primarily, she grew up there, and then she lived mainly in California. And so a lot of the Blackfeet people that die outside, they come back for the funerals. And she was one of the foremost experts on St. Kateri. And the night before, when I was talking to her family about her, they said, like, her proudest moment living there, when she was 8 years old, she helped carry the rocks for this church. Isn't that really beautiful? Picture that? And you might recognize a few of those people up there. That's when you guys get ready to leave, is that thing. So that's right out in front of the church. There's, hold a second.
And there's Patty at the top. We talked about Patty.
Oh yeah, Patty. So she took off. She's got her own business. She took off because she and I mapped out the whole thing 2 months before for when the missionaries of charity come in, when people from St. Thomas were coming. We have a lot of activities in June. We have 2 Presidios, and then we have what's called JOP, Justice Outreach Project. So like today we were talking with religious head.
Chris V. Brown.
Chris V. Brown. Who's the Alex? Sorry, Alex. Yeah, so he was talking about bringing the high school kids out there, possibly. I said, well, we already have that in places called JOP, Justice Outreach Project. So kids, high school kids from our diocese can come there for a week. They get there on a Sunday, they leave on a Friday. And so they learn about the Blackfeet culture, and then they do a project or two to kind of help beautify things or fix things up. So that doesn't have any water in it, but when the wind gets windy, it has a lot of whistling. So there's Mary King, which Danielle was talking about. She's the teacher at the Blackfeet Community College. I just applaud her and others, So there's Father Michael, there I am, the sisters, there's Danielle, don't tell me the names, Alma, Patty, there's Patricia. So that's the, see, I don't know, is that through the window that far there? Up in the mountains, you know, is that through the window or is that outside? Yeah, so that's each glacier, so you can kind of see it's really beautiful setting. And that's great, you know, parishes need people to help. Like, you got tons of people helping here. I mean, tons. It's so remarkable to see. Like, he's the main guy there, Greg. And he gets everything ready for Mass, and a few others too. I don't know if I'm getting through one, so that's this is Father Mike. I never met him. He died before I got here as a Jesuit. He was there for I don't know how many years, but people really loved him. And he would serve in Bath and other places. They stole our altar. Yeah, I found it out when we were there. I'm like, wow, that's beautiful. They took it to our church. Well, obviously, we gave it to them. But, so this place does have heat. Forget if it's electrical or whatever, no water. And let's see, there's something else to talk about. So that's the back, like area. So that's the church right there. And I forget his name, I should know, just Sam. So he's giving a talk. Every place we took them, someone gave a talk, so that's what he's doing. Same with him, I'm sorry, I forget his name, a great man. So that's a photo of that, I think. Is that a photo from that video, probably? The mountain scene? Maybe we'll drive back over. So this is Star School. Remember that little parish I was showing you? That church right there, right? With the new front entrance. So,
Charlie Man.
Charlie Man, that's the name, Charlie Man. But when you, from the outside, those two churches don't look like much. You go inside, most of this is our church. We should get that. Here. Really, like that statue there of Charlie Bean is over 100 years old. Yeah. His name is, what's his name again?
Charlie Man.
Charlie Man. Yeah, Charlie Man. I don't think so. I don't think so, but they love they call them outfits, some call it regalia, but they love the Indian wear, you know, and yeah, it's really, really beautiful. So they're proud of their native culture, they're proud of their Catholic faith. Now they say close to maybe 80% or so are baptized Catholic. And you know, it goes back a long ways that they were being prepared for Christianity to come to them, probably by the Jesuits and Peter. So this is the Holy Family Mission, which is connected to St. Anne's. Remember I mentioned the Vila brothers live out there. Beautiful church. And I forgot his name. And then that's brother Jim. He's a Vila brother. He's 80 years old. He's giving a talk too. Back in there is a place I fished. It's I think that's back in there. So some friends of mine came. They were going fly fishing this past August, and they wanted to go there first. They were going to go fish on the two medicine, which we've done that before. And so we went through this gate on this ranch, and this man comes out, who's 70-some years old, and my friend just said, "Hey, we want to fly fish here." I can't even say hello to it. So anyway, really good man. What's his first name? Dutch. So anyway, Dutch starts talking about a lot of the people from the Blackfeet are outstanding horsemen. So a lot of them have been in movies, like that. So he started, he was involved in comic movies. I got excited. I go, "Oh, did you ever meet John Wayne?" And he goes, "No, by the time I started, he already killed his last injury." I'm like, I guess that wasn't the thing. But every time I see it, it says, "Hey, come on by." So, but I found out some of them don't like John Wayne. But he said it in a humorous way. So this is St. Anne's. So, well, you see, that's Gordo. You see him a little bit there, I think. He's in a wheelchair. There's Tom there. There's Michael and myself. So this is their little, like a sideshow, I guess, where the tabernacle is. And so they have a beautiful teaching It was a different church too. Well, oh, see that picture, that painting of that church right there, the local big church? That's the church as it was when he was on home was there. And then back there is a little house, that's where we lived. Yeah, it's a really beautiful place. Let's see. So, no, huge. It's actually too big. It's, you got to keep the place and all that. I'm not complaining, but I am a little bit. And there's just so much wind damage. Like the doors, now they blow open even when they're locked. So that's a whole different story. But you know, I hire people, I had church people out there with them, and then they never show up. It's not always, but sometimes. That's what's happening. So it's hard to find people to do the work that needs to be done. Every place has a decent amount of things that need to be repaired. So this is where we're doing what we call a feed. So we made, see all those bags there? We made 100 sandwiches. And so we put like bologna and cheese and whatever else. And then potato chips and a bottle of water. And so we went around to the houses. We drove around and we honked because the dogs were real aggressive. Around them are not real aggressive for the most part. And then people would come out. And so the sisters were there. So we had groceries we gave them. Miraculous medals, so St. Mother Teresa of Calcutta gave out all sorts of miraculous medals. Then we gave out images of St. Mother Teresa of Calcutta as well. And they have a beautiful way, I can remember, of teaching people how to pray the rosary really simple. On the first bead, they say, Jesus, I trust in you. And then throughout it's, Mary, help me, Mary, help me, Mary, help me. And you start over, Jesus, I trust in you. Mary, help me, Mary, help me, Mary, help me. It's really beautiful. The funniest thing was, I forget what day of the week that was, 2 days later I had a funeral there, and I was like, man, it's amazing how many people are wearing rosaries. And I'm like, that's really impressive. Then at the end I realized we had just given those out 2 days before. So they love to wear rosaries. There's a really strong devotion to rosaries there, like we just got a big box you guys sent to us, came here. Rosaries, scapulars, they love holy water. Something else. So it's really beautiful. You know, just meeting these people, and people come out, hey, how many bags do you need? We give them that many. So I don't know if we have photos from Brownie. Do we have photos from Brownie when we did in Brownie?
I think so.
Let's see.
I have the next one.
Well, anyway, I don't know. That's that. I'm not going to go into this whole story. But this man here, get his name. He and his sons built this place. It's huge. Restaurant, they have pizza, they have steaks, but then the upstairs, I won't go into the whole story. He did these paintings. I think he did those, or at least he commissioned someone to do it. It's kind of historical telling of the Native Americans in the Blackfeet Reservation.
There's a slide in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you can see it. You know, yeah, it's part of it. So like there, you know, which is church is sent to educate Native Americans, because sometimes they're not good to them. So this is oh, that is. Oh no, this
It's
is
just a, yeah, it's just a mixture.
mixture. Okay.
The
So
museum.
kind of funny. So Patricia, a lot of the Native Americans, grandparents and great-grandparents have raised the kids because their parents are being died in jail, so they're intoxicated or whatever. So that's even since St. Patricia. So she named him Treaty. She goes, I'm already getting ready for disappointment in life. Anyway. So he's a great kid. And she is raising him in the Catholic faith on a deep, deep, deep level. She's on fire for the faith. That's her right there, sitting there in blue. So, I don't know if I'm taking too long here. Take too long? What question? Yeah, so I just want to show this here. So I had a double funeral here, but it also shows how, you know, it's kind of remarkable how many of them served in the military, men and women. You know? And so you've got people in the Navy, people in the Army, Army, Air Force. The most that I've seen of hats and jackets are the Marines. So, you know, it's really kind of a, and 4th of July fireworks. It goes on for about a week before and a week after. So they're sturdy people, I'll tell you. So remember I was mentioning the Justice Outreach Project, and with the high school kids that come and they learn Blackfeet culture. So then we do a mass in East Glacier for them. We do it at the church, Little Flower Parish the other days. So you were there at that, you know? Were you there? Oh, you didn't go to that. Oh yeah, that's what it was a couple weeks ago. So, well, anyway, we did missions, we did our processions. We did 3 last year, and rounding the first one, Corpus Christi Sunday with Blessed Sacrament, then we did one with Sacred Heart, then we did one with Lady of Fatima. We did 2 in Heartbeat, so this one of those. I'll just go through it real quick. At St. Anne's, after one of the processions. So this is on Main Street in Browning. We did 3 there, and people, you know, stop and they don't get upset or anything like that. Sometimes they call us in their vehicles. So I'll just go quick. Sorry if I'm taking too long. So, I don't know if it's more to go through. So I can take questions.
Hey, Bob,
Yeah.
show them the slides in the winter.
Oh yeah, sorry. So yeah. So this, I was there, I took like 4 photos. This is right around Christmas, we had a funeral, and this is a cemetery near Little Flower Parish, a lot of times we're up in someone's ranch up in the mountains. So this day, it was 30 below, and with the wind chill, it's 54 below. Most people stayed in their vehicles. So you see that man there who's wearing that long coat? His name is Larry. There's someone, I think, next to him. And they have the traditional drumming. A lot of times we'll have like traditional kind of Catholic music in a sense, Bible music at the Mass. But then for the funerals, but then they'll walk them in with the drumming and chanting and walk them out, and then they'll be at the burial. So interesting, a few weeks ago when I had a funeral, we're out at the burial, I heard him and the other guys talking about that time that they were on the other side of the road, which is this one, how cold it was. For them to talk about how cold it was, it's cold. Oh, I got photos of that. They go, you should put it on Facebook. I go, I think I need permission from the family. But also the light kind of adds something to it. Spiritual.
Was that at night, or was it how?
It was getting nighttime, yeah. Oh, are you guys familiar with Indian time? Funeral's like a lot of times supposed to start at 2. I've had to start 2 hours later. I get there now before to set everything up. I have the doors open and everything else. And, so it took a little adjustment. So what's that? You like on the weekends, you mean? I always start them a little bit late, except for East Glacier, because, you know, people are trickling in, so it's usually 15 minutes. Even some of the locals don't like that, but I'd rather have the people come in, so. Anyway, that's what I do. It's close. So here is Curtis, he's a white guy. He's from Polson's over the other side of the mountains. He's not wearing a hat, not wearing gloves. We get in the purse, we drive back, I go, Curtis, where's your hat? He goes, well, last week I put it in the box, I can't find the box. They go buy another hat. Look at that.
How do they dig that?
They have backhoes. They use backhoes.
Because that ground ought to be really frozen.
Yeah, so that's the only way they do it, and they do it all the time. And sometimes they dig it real deep. It's like, oh, I would pray that people don't ever fall into it. There's processions there. You know, when you get to know these people, and you see these kids, and even when I just look at these photos, it really touches on a deep level, because you get to know what their life is like, you know, and kind of where it might go. So, when I was there in not trying to point the finger at myself, but doing that and then the first communions and confessions. We those kids, this is Heartbeat, 30 miles away, came to one of our schools this past year. And one's called Shadow Wolf, I call him Shadow Fox. And his mom, quote unquote, mom and grandmother, he and her husband are taking care of him and 2 other children that are young. You know, like so many of those people are so sacrificial. They have a little store. She's a little bookkeeper there. But then Merlin, her husband, has been really ill, so now the kids have to go to school in Heartbeat. But just an example, and that's like one of my biggest heartaches is not getting out there except for funerals and Christmas Eve. Well, that's Christmas Eve, well, it's so horrible to get out there. So they're neglected. We just need more priests.
You say a little something on the demographics of the people, like how many people on the reservation, how many people are in parishes?
Yeah.
Repeat that question.
So the question is essentially how many people are on the Blackfeet Reservation, how many in the parishes? Well, from what I've read and from talking to people, it seems like on the Blackfeet Reservation, which is like 3,000 square miles, so it goes from Canada down south, past Heartbeat ways, probably 70 miles or so, and it goes up into the Rocky Mountains there, the Continental Divide ways, in different areas, and then kind of, if you know, east of there, Cutbank, that area. So a lot of it is, you know, hilly, ranch country, and you got the mountains there too. So there's about, like, probably 10,000, you could say, people there, is what I would guess. As far as how many we have in our parish, they don't have a register. Yeah, they don't have a director or anything, so, I don't know. We don't have a lot of people come to Mass. We have more now with COVID. You know, they've lost people to COVID and other things too, and people are very leery of it still. And basically, COVID was there just recently along with other illnesses. So, it's really mission territory at a lot of different levels, trust me. One of the photos back there, I didn't stop at it, but we started this in January. We do a monthly event. So Father will be doing it, he'll talk to you about it, I'm sure. We're doing it this Wednesday, the 1st. So after we had these seals and all these funerals, and I think I told you I had 130 funerals, well, I didn't do them all, the vast majority of them, in a 12-month period, from November to this past October. I had 64 days once. That's going to the wakes, that's going to the funerals, that's going all the start of time, and then doing the burials to be up in the mountains. So I mention all that. Well, yeah, that would come in second. Well, what's that getting at?
The demographics.
Oh yeah, demographics. There you go, demographics. So that's one of the reasons we have so many funerals is, even though they might not be practicing the faith, you know, they've been baptized Catholic. And what's interesting, I just found this out, they'll always do the rosary the night before the funeral. So usually the wait is 4 days when they do it. They have so much love and respect for the body. But even the other Christian churches, I just found this out, they do the rosary the night before the funeral. So, you know, that's a great thing.
Sorry.
Oh yeah.
Like you said, they get for sales, around the years. How many of them follow up with those weekly gatherings?
Yeah, they don't. So that's what I was talking about, monthly. So what happened, they don't really do that. They did it way back when. So the priest that was there before me, Father Ed Kohler, I think he's a saint, so sacrificial. That was his passion. They started the Crucios there in 1974. He got there in 1982. And he, over time, they would have one man, maybe 2, I think, a year, one or whatever, for the men's, which is on a Thursday through a Sunday in June. And then it goes, the next week is Thursday through Sunday for the women. And they used to get like 40 people. And then they have 40 or more people working it. But back then, in the beginning, for probably a couple of decades, they did have the, what's the 4th day, whatever it's called? Yeah, where they would get together like once a month or so. I'm not sure if it was every week. But they haven't done that kind of thing in a long time. So as of last January, I said, or last November, whatever it was, let's do a monthly event that has nothing to do with funerals. to do with death, because people are like, oh, that's the only reason we get together. People don't want to pick up their phone, like, who just died? And so we started that, and it's we provide free dinners in the gym of our school, which is right across the street from Little Flower Parish. You can be 10 little kids to adults. It's 5:30 to 7, and Catholic, non-Catholics. And the idea is just have a good time, and then start with the gospel reading. I do a printout of it, give it out to everyone. I'll put down like 4 things to think about, talk about it. So as we're getting the dinners, I hand it out to them. They're talking about that. But this time, Father Michael will give a talk, and talk about himself and our relationship, that kind of thing. So the first time we did it, in the middle of the winter, we had 40 people, which is what we thought. The next time, in January, we had 70. So, I think it's going to grow. And one of the goals, ultimately, is how can we start serving the local community and broader, but then how can we start to evangelize? So I want to use it kind of as a mustard seed. But one is just that people come together, it's a happy occasion, And so I don't know if that answers your question. That's kind of what we're doing in a way right now. The follow-up really isn't there. But hopefully sometime. Sorry, yes. Well, the first year they were there, and I wasn't there hardly for it other than to meet them because I wasn't there yet officially. Then they were doing a lot of catechesis and going around house to house, talking to people, and then finding out what they needed in the sacraments, reading rosaries, and it's just miraculous medal as well as cards of St. Mother Teresa of Calcutta, and then just meeting people on the street and talking to them. They probably did some other things, but this time I really wanted to map out more activity after having heard about that, which is all good. So St. Patricia and I got together. So we came up with these fees, we came up with these processions, came up with St. Dominic people, what to do with them. So they actually were involved this last summer with the Women's Crucio, and they really loved that. So I called up, the bishop, he told me, well, he told all the priests, he says, yeah, the sister's going to come this coming summer for 2 months. I'm like, they never told me that. I'm not complaining. It's a boot camp for me with everything else that's going on. It's all good, but I'll tell you, summer's just not a time to relax in there, I'll tell you that much. But, so I called, she tried to call me first, and I called her. Sister Paula Marie, who's the provincial for the western part of Montana and Canada. I called her back and said, hey, I heard you're going to be here for 2 months. 2 months? She goes, I don't even know if we're coming this summer, so please pray. I was hoping to call her today, I tried calling her a couple weeks ago, she didn't get back to me. But they're a blessing and they love it. And one of them said, and I don't know why, it doesn't make sense to me, she's been in with them for 33 years, she said she's never seen such poverty. But they love it. Can I answer the question? Yeah, I think I'll get that. Yeah. Sorry, can I answer the question? Because sometimes I get off on the tangent. Yes. I did, okay. I'm going to rip through this. So we had a mission, Father Velasquez with the Franciscans of the Immaculata did a great job. So after each of the talks in the evenings, he did the enrollment in the Crown Scapular. And so many people wanted that. Even the last time, people went home to get their kids for that. People love the scapular. And then he did that special blessing for the miraculous medal. It goes out for the priest. So, gave great talks on Blessed Virgin Mary. So remember I was talking about the wind? So this is last end of October. It was 100-mile-an-hour wind. See that ball of steel? It was down the highway across the street, and one of the neighbors saw it. It went across, and it was coming in this field. It was going towards the side of the church on the other side. And all of a sudden, the wind went this way, and it crashed into the entranceway. So I went out there Sunday or Monday, and then a friend came out who helps out a lot. He's the guy I hired to be our facilities coordinator. He saw a backhoe in someone's yard, and got to the door, hey, can we borrow your backhoe? So he was able to get this thing moved out and lift that thing off of there, and it was going to fall down eventually. But it gives you an idea of the wind, you know. But
but I'll get to the bishop. I think it's gonna come up pretty soon. So there's Our Lady of Guadalupe, their offices. There's the bishop. This is the last one. So Bishop Vedder came out. So remember I was talking about how they really respect the Catholic faith there, and here's this teacher in a public school talking about things that are really Catholic, about virtues, not it's just Catholics that practice virtue. But anyway, so for their graduation, they get this Father Ed to do with me. They have me, the Catholic priest, come and do the introductory blessing and opening prayer. For the and this summer, every 2 years, they have the swearing-in ceremony for the new council members. They have 9 council members on the Blackfeet Tribal Council, and so they have it staggered. They have a 4-year term. So I did the opening prayer. So it speaks to there's a deep respect for the Catholic Church. So it's good for you to know that it's helping us in different ways. That it's there's a well that's there. I mentioned in some homilies. I think you'll see people like I was coming home from Cursillo once. One in the morning, it's a Friday, and I saw this woman walking on the street. And one in the morning, and she's going by the church like this, And I yelled out, I go, Jesus saw that. And she turned around and I recognized the fellow. So I go over and give her a hug. I haven't seen her for months. I think she's in treatment. I hope she is. But you see people drive by in their cars like that. You see people who are drunk or high or whatever get down on the knee. So many of the men that I've met, like sitting on the church stairs, they would talk about when they were altar servants in the church. So there's a lot there. So this is Bishop Vedder. See that girl right there? See people touching away? Boy, she touched me right away. The one girl there, and there's her name is Stormy, and then that's Shadow Wolf, the one I was talking about, Shadow Wolf. They're like, not kind of brothers and sisters, they have the same grandparents raising them. They went to a school there, as I mentioned this past semester. Her name is Sunny. She kind of bounces from like one house to another a lot of times because her parents have problems with alcohol. So, and there's a bishop praying with them. Oh yeah, thank you. So what the bishop said after that experience, just 1 second. Okay, right after this experience, because we originally were going to do the feed in the church. That's how we publicized it. Only one person showed up. I said it's providential. Let's just take them around to the houses in Browning. You can see how these people live. And so then when we come back to the church, he said to me, you know what? So like for confirmation, that's the bishop, right? If a priest is going to get confirmation, you have to get permission from the bishop directly and tell why, He came up to me, he says, listen, if someone came up to me right now, teenager or older, and says, can you baptize me? He goes, I would baptize him right away. I confirm him and give him first Holy Communion. He says, never call me, you just do it. It's really beautiful. It's really beautiful. So it's a beautiful way to end with that. But someone had a question, I think, or...
This is for short. The nuns' hats, they look like Mother Teresa's order.
Yeah, sorry, I guess I took it. Yeah, missionaries of charity. Yes, sorry. I probably didn't mention that. And, yeah, so I don't know if I mentioned that in the beginning. I may have, because that was like 2 hours ago. I don't know about you, but I'm hungry again. But when this past summer when they were there, the first mass we were doing for them, because if we don't have a funeral, so like Thursdays I have a school mass at 9, and then every day except for weekday except for Monday, which is my day off, I have a 4 o'clock mass unless we have a funeral. So when they came that first day, we have to have mass for them every day. I either do it in their convent at 7 in the morning, or we come to daily mass. We have it. So when they were back there helping me in the sacristy getting ready for mass, Sister Asade, you don't see her there, but then she says, we're here because of her, pointed at an image of St. Therese, the little flower. She says, she's our grandmother. Because of St. Joseph of Calcutta devotion. And one thing I talk to them about is, because a lot of people are in a house by themselves or in a nursing home or whatever. I said, St. Mother, or St. Therese, the little flower, who I have a strong devotion to, she went into Cloister Convent when she was 15. She died there when she was 24. And when the sisters were getting ready to write the obituary, what should we write? She came here, she lived, and she died. They didn't notice anything extraordinary until they started reading writings. And then, they disseminated that throughout the world. And it was translated in so many languages, people started reading her. And I don't know if you've read much about her, but she was cocky. She goes, yeah, when I get to heaven, Jesus thinks I'm going to be surprised. She goes, I'll act like I am. And she said, well, my work is going to start when I get to heaven. And I'm going to shower the world with rose petals. I'm not going to go into well, this is being recorded. I kind of do different work with people, and one is I help them with kind of healing of things in certain areas, like memories. And so, not too long ago, one of the things that happened was she saw all these roses. And I said, turn around and see that image there? It's the same trees, and it's an image of her in our confessional with roses. And she does that for people. I know someone who was in the seminary, now he's a bishop in Texas. He went to minor seminary with my brother in Chicago. And he was having a really hard time in seminary. Just because whatever was going on. It wasn't like he got his vocation, but he might have been to some extent. And he was in the church by himself, and he went up in front of the Blessed Virgin Mary. When he came back to his pew, there was a rose right there. So, what we got to let people know is it's about what's in here. You could be in your bed, like St. Therese was, in a place that, we saw just a video that was pretty boring, right? She's sewing, she's cooking, she's cleaning, she's praying, going to mass and things like that. And she's the doctor of the church. She's the doctor of the church. So one thing that I talked to them about, because I'm addicted to struggle bears, which some people think that would be a depressing life. I really like their, well, I just want to say one thing, is their head coach. He said he learned from another coach years ago, he says, never put the ceiling on a player. He says, you're always going to challenge him and push him up, talking about the things he's doing good, things he needs to work on. And so that's what I say to them. Like the people on the street. You see Patricia, trust me. She had her difficulties way back when. I met someone, 28 years, he drank alcohol every day. Days he would go without food, and all of a sudden, he didn't even know who God was, trying to find out about Jesus Christ. Now, that's all he does is want to serve the Lord. So I say, never put a ceiling on yourself, and never put a ceiling on anyone else. Because God doesn't do that. God doesn't do that. Then we start to see ourselves. Because God sees ourselves and others too. So, sorry, someone had their hand up. I didn't forget. You probably forgot who it was. Did I talk too much on that one? Oh, somebody had their hand up over here. Did you have your hand up? Sorry, I think I missed someone.
Where does your food come from? You didn't show us a town or a grocery store?
Okay, yeah. Well, I drive over the mountains a lot of times, but we do have 2 grocery stores in our town. And some people will go to Great Falls to do a lot of shopping, which is a couple hours away. Not many do what I do, not that I'm pointing the finger, but I go over the mountains a lot, because one is I have a chiropractor there, a doctor and friends and stuff.
Go over the mountain to where?
To like Kalispell, to the Flathead Valley. So I go over the pass, the Continental Divide. Yeah. But so we do have 2 grocery stores in town, and then like Cut Bank is like 24 miles away. People go, there's a couple, bigger grocery stores there. Here in Hartford, there's not much. Remember I was talking about those two kids right there, Stormy and Shadowflower. Their grandmother who's raising them, the grandfather, they have a little store. But it's not that much anyway. Yeah, so that's the thing. No, people freeze to death there too, because they don't have enough heating or air conditioning and young boy too. Yeah, sorry. I'll meet you.
Notice that there was a school bus in one of the pictures.
Okay, yeah.
And you mentioned school a few times.
Yes. Is it Ann? Is it Ann?
Yes.
Say Ann.
So, I wondered if you can talk a little bit about what is the situation for schooling there?
Okay.
Are there local schools at the various places where you have the church? I presume there's one Catholic school, is that right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yes, so the Catholic school does have a small bus. I don't know if that's the bus you're talking about. Oh yeah, because you were driving that bus in the town. That's what you're talking about, right? So the De La Salle School is right across the street from Little Flower Parish in Browning. And that started about the year 2000. So Father Ed Kohler, who started at Little Flower in 1982, a couple years later, the bishop sent him to Guatemala. We have a Guatemala mission there. It's a hospital and school, wide span. So he was there for about 5 years, and he got to know some of the De La Salles. I think they were running a school, I think, there in Guatemala. So for about 10 years, he was writing to all these different orders to start a school. And then the De La Salle said, okay, we'll do it. They mainly did high schools, as I understand it. So they've been there since about, I think, around 2000, 2004.
So how is that financed?
So, beggars like me, that's what I do when I was showing the East Glacier. I tell people when they're there, some I go, this is like a suburb, okay, of the reservation. And I tell them this is people from outside the reservation. I said, you know, people here, I'm just like, I'm gonna tell them as I see it anyway. I say, you know, people here are materially very poor, but spiritually very rich. And I said, I'm a beggar on their behalf, the Catholic Church. So if you could be generous with us, that'd be great, you know. And so, well, mainly donations because the families really don't pay anything. And we have this 4th grade through 8th, and there's about 70 kids in the school.
One more question. Do you have an idea of what it is exactly that they do on the reservation? Do they do agriculture?
Yeah, there's a lot of ranching, there's a lot of
work, or is there industry, or
yeah, there used to be some industry there. Mainly there's lots of ranching. I don't think there's really farming so much, but there might be. And then I think one of the biggest employers are schools. So like in Browning, you have college, you have there's a high school, there's grade schools, junior high, etc. And then the tribe, you know, so they have lots of different types of jobs, road work and all sorts of different things. And I think there's a hospital, but you know that's part of the thing. So as an example, okay, I mentioned the Trusillos. March 16th through whatever that Sunday is, we're going to have what's called a pilgrimage, and that's a retreat for those who are struggling with addictions. I'm going to give like 8 or 9 talks. I'm going to start working on those when we get back. But last year was the first time we did that, and and it's kind of a boot camp too, but it's really beautiful. Is I'm thinking about these people who are there in a great place, you know. In the beginning, they're real fidgety, a lot of them want to be there, and they're kind of, you know, detoxing, whatever it's called. And then we're getting good food, they get, you know, decent sleep for the most part, and they're really get a deep spiritual experience with the Lord and the sacraments and whatnot. But when I was there, I kept looking at the doors that they're going to be going out because they can't leave. They're going to go about where? They're going to see everything the same as it was, right? Not a lot of opportunity there. So you've been talking to Bob, who's only 55, so he's going to be out there soon. Wow, right? No. We had a great meeting today at the woodshop there at the senior center. Oh, I'll tell you, that's a fascinating place. What a great use of a school that's closed down. But we're talking about maybe bringing that back there for like the kids we were talking about. And I said, well, you want to do this pilgrimage for these adults, and maybe that's something they can do. One is to earn money, but also it's something therapeutic and positive, you know, gives them something to do. There's not a lot to do there. And you go back to the same place, people get bored. That's why people go to these casinos so much, you know, there's a big casino there. So, and lots of dogs, they like dogs and wins, it's a place to go. Lots of dogs. So, did I answer your question as far as it's not, you know, we have very few police officers. The fire department's volunteer. they have a tutor in the place. She homeschools. I'm like, hey. I gotta stop feeling sorry for myself.
Are drugs a problem out there?
That's putting it lightly. So it's a huge problem. So meth and fentanyl. Yeah, a couple weeks ago we had 2 died from fentanyl. 1 week in Helena, I heard 19 died from fentanyl. And you know, fentanyl, if you touch someone that's consumed it, it goes from their skin into you. And I was talking with, doing a marriage prep for a couple, and she's a dispatcher for the police department, and she was telling me that the police officers went into a house, they did shot a smoke bomb or something in there, broke into the house, and there was fentanyl on the coffee table, and it went into the air, and some of them got it. Police officers, so they start to think about what they're exposed to. But no, it's a huge, matter of fact, people have told me they've never felt so afraid there. Because they don't know what they're doing, trust me. When they're on meth, they do not know what they're doing. And they could be violent.
So what hope does the relationship with St. Dominic's give you?
Well, I'll tell you, just as on a personal level, even though I love it there and all that, it's been a real shot in the arm for me. Because just one is, you know, the vitality here. It's just a variety of what you're doing, all the good things you do here. It's just so impressive. So for me, it's inspiring as a priest, you know, to be able to see something like this and to be around you and interact with you. So, you know, I'll bring that back because I'm pretty much enthusiastic over there, but I'll be even more so, I think, I hope. You asked about the relationship and how it's been helping. Look at that, that's what happens. You start talking, you really forget what the question was. Even today in the school, I asked a kid a question, said something, and I got off the kid and go, what was the question? But anyway, I think really what we're doing right now, you know, we're going through right now. If you've seen it, I've mentioned a couple things. You go through a door that God wants, He knows what's going to happen, right? So we started off with Father Michael taking it to prayer. And I'm convinced in a way that was St. Terry that was speaking to him, hey, do it with the Native American. You know, that she was kind of planting that seed. The Native American church, the church is, as it turns out, 6. And then we had that Zoom meeting, the pastoral council. And then we had the collaboration with the Station of the Cross, and a beautiful video. Then they came out, and now we're doing the swap, you know. So, and I know you're going to go. I know you think I'm joking. Bob's going to be out there, in spirit at least. In spirit, yeah. You know, just this whole idea of the woodworking. I'm fascinated by that. I think they will be too. So, I just think I call this a holy journey founded in love. That's what this is. So, you know, you're going to ask that question too. And he said, wait and see. You know what I mean? That's the thing. It's only going to get better. It's a holy adventure founded in love. You know? So I think there's no limit. You know? There really isn't.
Okay, during COVID, when it was really rampant at the beginning,
Yes.
with your Indian reservations, they were having such a terrible time with it because there was no sanitary facilities for them. You know, a lot of them had no water, and I was wondering if that's true on the Blackfeet reservation there. And is there any hope for getting them sanitary facilities?
So I don't know. I wasn't there during that time period, and I don't know if that was an issue. But that's a really good question. I haven't heard anyone say that, but that could be for some people. I don't know.
Well, do they have water?
Yeah.
And
No, I mean, I don't know about everyone, like on the ranches and all that, you know, what they do, you know, they probably have wells or whatever. But in town they do. I don't think I've heard of anyone that doesn't have water. It could be. But, you know, I'm confident that they essentially all have water. I can't guarantee that. But I haven't heard people say they don't have water. But, could be. structure, some of the many things that we've applied to the funds, much of the funds too, is I have in my folder here. So a lot, I can read off a few of the things if you want, as examples. And then I was going to talk to you just a little bit about some of the things that are coming up, just so you can pray about them. So, let's see, this was, we have a really good bookkeeper who's new. She was the treasurer for the whole tribe, with millions and millions of dollars. And then she left, and then I contacted her, and I didn't know that about her, frankly. So then she contacted her for a bookkeeper. And so she's part-time, so she's really, really good. So, for example, furnace repair at the thrift store. So we have a thrift store. So it looks like almost $300 worth of that. Bell tower repair. We have it's $245. Star School wind damage repair. Well, that was so that was about $1,300. So anyway, I'm just looking at these different things. Okay.
I can probably, there's a microphone, I can probably answer that question.
So it's been very apparent since Father Rod's been here that we have incredible infrastructure. Up here, this building, the school, everything is in very good shape. And we are able to do so much because of that. You think about it, we can have this event right here tonight. We have a wonderful kitchen, we have this facility to have in. So many great things happen through our parish just because of our facilities. And they're built because of the generosity of y'all. What I see Father Rod doing in the conversations we have, they don't have the infrastructure. They're more in a survival mode in trying to get it. So mainly the money that we're sending is for them to try to develop their infrastructure, to get a solid foundation, and then to build on that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so we sent the talker via, her name is Nancy, our bookkeeper, where the funds are going, so it's all listed here. And there's lots of things that don't sound like a lot, but, and not all of it's been spent. So we've got other things that are coming down the pipe. But, so one is like even here, we had to clean the carpet church, which had to clean it out all up. That was a little over $1,100. And 7,000 for St. Andrews. So I know we have tours. I don't know what all of them down there. I'm not sure. Holy Family Mission is 4,000, I think. So aid to the needy. So we have people. One is a lot of times their electricity is turned off because they haven't kept up. So don't always help them with that, but sometimes they do. And so that's over $1,000. And sometimes I'll do it, I did. Like for example, the most recent one I did was for 110. And I told them to go, I'm tell you, don't get me. Because usually we'll get out like $40 or something like that. But I believed him, and he said I have my 3 daughters or so. And I said, we're just real cold, and this is real behind, we're so far behind, whatever I put in, they take half out to pay what was previously paid. So it says if you put in 110, it's like putting half that is, and I put in that. So, and it's still removal too. So anyway, there's lots.
That's right, I do what I had because Frank and I have had this discussion before. We had a Sister Parish relationship with Haiti, and we never knew where the money went, so we stopped that. And this has been years back. We have a really good bookkeeper up there, and a really good bookkeeper here, and we are very much tracking how the money is spent. So I can assure you all the money is going to good causes. Now, Terry just asked me to ask you, how much money would it cost to get water to that church where you have a bathroom and no water?
Yeah, we haven't looked into that because what happened was things I talked to a couple people and we were kind of working on things.
And so he said what he was going to do is contract, or talk to a contractor or two, and they have to determine whether or not they put in piping. Because they may have put in piping back when they built it, we don't know. That has to be determined, and then depending on if that's there or not, what would this potentially cost? Then we get an idea what it's going to cost. So right now, we don't know that. And the work that they wouldn't be able to start until like the spring or the summer. So another bigger project that I've got to work on, just so you know, is so Little Flower Parish was built in 1831. What I need to do is to get rid of all the wiring. So I hired an electrician to work on our lights outside of the church. He did a great job. And I asked him, I said, can you go around to all the rooms, everything in the Little Flower Parish? Because where I was at before, just a little note, not so you feel sorry for me, but where I was at, I got really burned out. And so the bishop knew that. So he calls me up, and, this is being recorded, so anyway, he goes, I go, hey, Bishop, how you doing? Hey, Rob, I'm moving to Brownie. He didn't know how to silence. He goes, don't worry, you'll only be there until you're 86. Now, I got a lot of stuff going on here, so can I call you tomorrow? And he goes, it'll be slower pace, I thought it was one church. And, but it is slower pace, right? So look at that. See, that's what I do. I go off on a tangent. Where was I going with this little question? Oh, so what happened was, part of what, along with a bunch of other stuff I doing from diocese and there, is we had a fire in our church, built in 1910, and it was on, so there we had, I was the only priest there, we had a deacon, and it's 4 masses a weekend, big parish, 5 people like this, but not as big, not as big, at any rate. So that day we had 5 masses, 4 on Sunday, on Saturday, because we had our first Holy Communion. So we had 25 kids receiving the first Holy Communion. But what happened was a whole story. We ended up having an accidental fire in the church, in the basement, and smoke went everywhere. So we were in the gym, the school gym, for a year and a half. And so I had to, oversee everything. I had to approve all the outlets and everything. But you learn a lot when you have a fire, trust me. And, priests are always concerned about fires because they happen. And so here I am now in a place where I get this electrician to do kind of a small job, but I just thought, just take a look at all this whole place. And he started saying, things need to be changed. And I said, well, I want to know what it is. I want to put my head in the sand. And so he said, I don't even know what the Cadillac version is. That is, what would that be? The best thing. He says, get rid of all the wiring. That means you have to get rid of all the fixtures, because he says the fixtures, what happens is, and I'm not going to be able to articulate it, they've been there for however long, and they're compromised because of all that heat that's there. So now if you put new wiring in there, you're going to have problems. So, then you got to change out all the breakers. Those fuses, those too. All the switches, all the outlets. And I talked to the bishop about it, and then I called the head finance guy for the diocese. And so that's really what I'm working on right now, trying to put a committee together to look over this thing. Then you got to get the people to do this work. But the next thing after that is all the plumbing, because it goes back to 1931. So one thing I want to mention, I was mentioning as a Tucker, is I was with the religious order, I was doing fundraising in New York City, and I didn't like the way they did it. People like brick and mortars, right, when they give a donation. But what you find is oftentimes what's most expensive is the salary should pay for your employees. That's just the reality, and you got the benefits, right? Well, people wouldn't pay that. Well, where we're at, that's what I need. When I want to hire, I wanted this for a year. I'm working with the same person for a year, and I'm talking to them. Listen, when I get back, you got to tell me what you're doing. He's working with tribes, and he comes in the church and says, it's so peaceful here, Obviously, we can't pay, let's get paid now. But the other thing is, like Heinz here, bookkeeper said, Father, you're going to have to be able to pay people so they stick around, So what I wanted to mention is, I want to be able to use funds that are coming in for that, because I can't do this stuff. I can't oversee all of our 6 churches and the rectory and everything, stay on top of it, and then go hire these people that need to be done, which is what I've had to do. insurance company and all that, you know? So I'm just saying that's the reality. And to me, that's the only smart thing, because then I can work with people. Instead of just doing funerals and, you know, because I gotta do the marriage prep, I gotta do all of us, you know. And we have lots of baptisms. I don't do that prep, but, you know, so, you know, those are the kind of things we need to have. And we have a savings too. Father Ed is very frugal. The other thing I wanted to mention, so my sister Beth, I don't know, this probably went too long, but just you want to be an open book too. So my sister Beth is in Milwaukee, she does volunteer work, and she contacted me several months ago, say, hey, do you want to, because I had talked to my family about this relationship, you know, with St. Dominic's, and she says, hey, maybe you can get something like that in Milwaukee. I could talk to Archbishop Stecki. And I said, hey, go ask him, you know. And just like what I do when I'm in East Glacier, I say, I'm a beggar for the church. And so she talked to him and said, let me think about it. And then my brother meets with him 4 times, he's a priest there, meets with him 4 times a year for like an hour and a half to school and stuff that he does for the diocese. And at the very end, he goes, tell your brother to send me photos and stories. And he has a weekly letter. It's called AOL. No, L-O-A-L, Love All Around. It goes out to everyone in the diocese. He says, what I'm going to do, and I've got it, I'm going to send it to you guys. He says, what I'm going to do is I'm going to encourage everyone during Lent for almsgiving to support the Catholic churches on the Blackfeet Reservation. So he sent it out, I got it, and he says, to start off, I'm giving him $2,000. You know, so I want to tell you that, you know, we're reaching out to other people too, and if we have people that come that are just traveling through Browning to go to Mass, and they, you know, you can read the signs pretty quickly. You know, they're not getting much from collections. One is the people when they have the money set, there's not many people going now to Mass, you know, but we got to maintain the churches. And so, yeah, we cannot survive without outside support. It's not possible, you know. Not true, it's just the reality of it all. So they said, St. Mom, she's when she was young, she's the best fundraiser in the world. She had orphanages and all the times and everything else, you know. So, yeah, anyway, I wanted to mention those things to you, so you can have, that's why I brought these papers too, which I'm not a finance guy. But I had her simply sent this to, I think it's to you. Yeah, so I don't know if anyone else has their hands or questions or thoughts.
I bet I can talk loud enough around you. Hello?
So, Umberto had a great idea. Since Father Rod came on this way, it'd be nice to have a picture of him with some of his saints. So if y'all could come up, we'll put him up there. And
that'd be great.
Take a picture and take that back. But just this week, I've been struck about a lot of differences. Most notably, Father Michael, when he got to Browning, he texted and said, it's -21. At the same time, I checked Kingsport weather, and it was 62. And there's so many other differences. We're blessed. I mean, you got to sit in this room and you got to look around and you got to see all those things and you got to realize we're in the same Dominic Church. We are extremely blessed through each other and through so many other things. We can share. So I'm thinking the similarity is the Eucharist. And that, whether you're in Browning or whether you're in Kingsport, it's all the same. So thank you for what you do. Father Rod, thank you for what you do. Thank you for being here with us. If you would go up there and take your picture, we appreciate it very much.
You know, I guess I just end on this.
Notice what they want to do is share with Father Michael, you know, things that you have there, and you can share it with me too, but what they have there. So what is it we can share with each other? You know, like we were talking about Pentel with our 4th grade, because we have a 4th grade through 8th grade, 4th grade and 5th graders writing letters to schools. Talking about maybe those who have been working with the Cursillos, somehow to see if you're interested in learning how to put on a Cursillo and helping with that. That's a really deep spiritual experience. That's the biggest thing there, spiritually identifying people outside of church and Mass. So I think there's things we can start sharing as we're learning about these things and just spending time with Bob today with the wood shop. You know?
think a lot of good things come from that. So, no, and trust me, and I don't know, it's just being here as far as, even if we didn't have this relationship, you know, if let's say I knew Father Mike, yeah, let's just switch for whoever, there wasn't a relationship, we were old friends. I'm like, oh, this is a neat place. So you are blessed, you know? You are. And like he said in all of you, and I don't mean this like to be financially motivated, but you're just very generous in so many different levels. That's as clear as can be. I think that's one of the virtues that pleases God the most. People are generous. Regardless of what they have, you know? But what can they give? You know? So, no, God is blessing you because I think you deserve it by the way you're responding. No, really, I do. I'm not just saying that to say that. It's good to hear, I think, an outside observance of someone who's, you know, been around the block, been in your city, you know, as priest in Long Island, and then on the highland in Montana, you know, the big active parish, and whatnot, and then here in Brownsville. So you can see things pretty quickly. God bless you.